welcome to the Post-Human Podcast.
So today's guest, and I've got another long title for myself: freelance journalist, actor, author, sports presenter, and the owner and founder of the podcast Interview Experts, Dave Mendonca.
How's it going, Tim?
I'm very good. I did get your name right, didn't I, with the pronunciation?
Close enough, sir. It's okay. We'll take it.
How?
It's all right, man. No worries.
No, I mean, I do this on my show a lot. Is even then I'm like, oh, you sent me the pronunciation. Okay, well, we should get this right. How is it pronounced? So we just know.
Well, I guess the anglicized version, the one that I go with, is Mendonca, but it's of Portuguese descent, so it's Mendonça. If you want to go that route.
Well, I thought originally it was Mendoza, but obviously when I seen that K, I was like, oh, okay, I'm pronouncing that with a K now.
Yeah, that's totally me. Like I'm totally gone against the grain. I am embarrassing the family, so it's okay.
No, it's okay. But listen, let's get into this because you've been in the game for 10 years plus, in terms of podcasting.
Yeah.
But one thing that I know that people are going to talk about first, and we're going to have to get it out the way, is the Marvel shit. We're going to have to get that done and dusted because I know it's going to be one of the most topics that everyone always talks to you about.
Yeah.
Obviously, you worked on the set of The Incredible Hulk, which is one of my early first Marvel films. It's definitely one of my favorites for the early ones. Certainly better.
Really?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh wow!
Okay. I'm a big fan of Edward Norton. So,
right.
What was it like doing that? It's kind of crazy.
It was nuts, Tim. Okay, so basically, like how I got on set. Okay, so one day, like it was like a month after I was let go from my sports TV reporter job. It was like a dream job. So I'm down and out, and I'm like, okay, you know what? I got to do something to shake things up, okay? So I go on Craigslist. I see on Craigslist in Toronto, Ontario, Canada, they are looking for these businessman extra types. And I'm like, you know what? I love movies. Exactly. I love movies. I want to be a part of this. Submit thoughts. And then before you know it, they're saying, hey, come on down to downtown Toronto to be a part of the shoot. Okay. Now, it was interesting. I had never been an extra before. So just seeing that whole dynamic, being a massive movie fan, it's like you're seeing how the sausage is made. Okay. Yeah. So I'm sitting around seeing like how they herd all the extras into wardrobe. And then when they're doing their sets, like recording of like different shots and whatnot, just seeing how it's such an organized affair amongst all those Marvel people and behind the scenes people. So the one scene that I did, the one that I was on screen for, so it took place downtown Toronto in this like cul-de-sac sandwiched between a couple of like business buildings. And initially, Tim, I was about maybe 200 feet back of where the camera was, where Edward Norton and Liv Tyler were, okay? But here's the thing, Tim. I'm a guy who seizes the moment. Like I did not sign up to be a part of a movie and not be on camera. So this is what I did, Tim, okay? This is something you don't do, apparently. Like with extras, there's all these freaking rules. With each take, I stepped closer to the camera. So after multiple takes, originally 200 feet back, Tim, before I knew it, I was smack dab right in front of the camera, man. Like my scene, I was a businessman. I had to like walk behind Edward Norton and Liv Tyler, okay? It was like a busy, bustling downtown scene. And I was literally a foot behind them. And I couldn't believe it, man. Like initially way far back on the set, and then all of a sudden I'm in front of the camera. And I played it cool, man. Like I channeled my inner Pacino, I had to, man. I rocked that business case. I had glasses on. I puffed my chest out, doing that walk, and I pretended I was in a hurry, man. And I nailed it, man. I nailed it. So anyway, so that's the origin story of how that appearance happened. And to take it a step further, when that movie was released, I believe in June of 2008, my girlfriend, now wife, and her best friend at the time, we went to see the movie, but I got a heads up first from my cousin who lives in Wales. He's like, Dave, man, you're in the movie. I'm like, no way. So I tell my wife, babe, we got to go. We got to go. And she brings a friend. So yeah, so we're in the movie theater.
Is that Wales, Canada?
This is sorry, Wales, England.
Like, okay. Because
yeah,
I know there's a Wales over there as well. I think somewhere. No,
there's only one Wales. So, okay. But yeah, so my cousin, he lured me because obviously UK, you're like 5 hours ahead of us, and you got anyway. So he let me know, and I didn't know like to what extent I'd be on camera, but I'm like, okay, I got to see this. I take my girlfriend, her friend, go to the theater. We're sitting there, and then like after like an hour, like all of a sudden I see like this giant version of me on the screen. I freaked out, Tim. I stood up. I said, "Holy S, that's me!" And my girlfriend, oh man, my girlfriend and her friend were so embarrassed, man. They're like, I don't know this Joker. I don't know this dude. So that's cool. The story, man.
I just wanted to get it out of the way because it's super cool,
Yeah.
I mean, Marvel is the biggest fucking industry going at the moment. Well, yeah, it's part of Disney. It is. I was going to say Disney, and then I was like, oh, wait a minute. Same company, fool. Who, again, they bought them out. But, oh my God. I mean, it's always something that, to be on a film like that, any Marvel film,
yeah.
It's immortal, it's kind of crazy.
It's crazy. So it was interesting earlier, Tim, you were mentioning how The Incredible Hulk was one of your favorites of the early films. Is that right? Really?
Yeah. I mean, there's a better story to it than obviously you've got the first Hulk, and that was I didn't really like it. Iron Man kind of overshadowed it a bit, and you had those kind of early Spider-Mans. I mean, this was all when it was under Sony, I believe.
That's right.
But obviously, then they did that second Incredible Hulk, and as a fan of Edward Norton, I was like, "Oh, this is cool." I think Edward Banner was in the first one, wasn't he?
Banner was, yeah, Eric.
Yeah, Banner was the first one, yeah. But the second, I mean, it was such a. It was, I don't know. He played the role a bit better. It was, I think he could have carried it on. Probably a way better than what Eric Banner could have. Let's put it that way. I think they made some wrong decisions to begin with. I mean, we always knew Robert Downey Jr. That's always going to be Tony Stark. To the point they're trying to get him for talks back.
That's right.
Which, it's crazy.
So what is it, Tim, about Marvel? I know for me, these guys are just brilliant with their storytelling. The way they interweave all these different storylines is unbelievable. Like these movies, Tim, will be going on for decades, man.
It's the fact that it's like I'm a big fan of Stephen King because when most of his films there's always little sort of Easter eggs and there's little kind of interweaving points. They'll mention a character from like even the books. They do it more in the books, but they always mention different characters. They're like, oh, this person was in Juniper Hills this time and I was with them, or whatever it is. And anything that's got this sort of multiverse thing to it, I mean, I love it. It just because you just want to unravel it yourself. It's like, it makes you so intrigued, and you get more curious. You're like, what are they going to do next? And they put loads of little hidden subplots in there, and the way they make it, I couldn't imagine the team and the creativity that goes into it because they're playing 4D chess. They're playing films 10 years, 15 years in advance, realistically. The last MCU was a 10-year period, and they was thinking about that, the Infinity War's Endgame probably, a long time ago, but it was just getting to that story and that point and having to have all these separate characters and different narratives, and it's so hard. It's so hard.
Tim, that's the difference between the MCU and other movie studios. Like the other movie studios, they want a quick hit. Pump out one superhero movie. They don't take the time to craft the story. Let's get those origin stories. Let the audience get invested. Then you branch out to the super teams, Avengers, all that stuff. But only now are these different movie studios understanding you got to put in the time. And Kevin Feige, the guy's freaking brilliant, man.
Oh
For
yeah.
him to figure this out so early on, now it's a behemoth. This thing's a juggernaut, even in a post-pandemic world. Like Shang-Chi, what it was doing, like holy crap, this guy, man, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, I've not seen that one yet. I think the last one that's just been released is Black Widow.
Yep.
And have you watched it yet?
I have not seen Shang-Chi yet. I can't wait.
Have you no
I've
Black
seen everything else.
Black Widow? Have
I've
you
seen Black
Yeah,
Widow,
yeah.
yes.
I've seen half of it, so um, kind of yeah. It's just well, I mean, I'm not going to give too many spoilers because I did this the other day accidentally with Justice League, and which wasn't very fun. But shit happens. If you haven't seen it, you haven't seen it. It's tough shit. One thing I did like was it had such a very emotional, gripping introduction. Like that first scene with the cover of the Nirvana song.
Yes.
I think it's
Teen
Smells
Spirit.
Like Teen Spirit, yeah.
Yeah.
And that is a very emotional. I mean, it might have just been me. I can get semi-emotional over films, but
Sure.
I've got kids as well, and I was probably, I'd had a couple of drinks and I had a bit of a smoke, and I was just lying in bed watching it, and then I was like, man, this is dark, and I was like, I don't even know if I want to continue this, and it was like barely 5 minutes in. I was like, oh god, this is tricky to watch. I don't know where it's going to go. Like the whole introduction was so dark.
Yeah.
For me, I was like, this is tricky. But I continued watching it, but then I fell asleep, so got to rent it again.
Right.
It was but it was. I'm imagining from where I watched up to, it was going to end pretty well, but it was that tricky introduction, so fucking dark, crazy dark.
It is. The movie itself did follow the Marvel formula. Like, I liked it personally. I think it's middle of the pack, like mid-tier Marvel, I would say.
Yeah.
But I wish they had the Black Widow origin story earlier. With the Thors, the Captain Americas, the Iron Man. I wish that happened earlier.
It needed to be, really.
Yeah, because it's like it just seems like an afterthought. Everything's happened, and you're just backing up for one step, and
she's not really doing the role anymore either. So what's the point doing a prequel at the end of a career? There's no.
Yeah.
It's like you're giving the origin story now after 10 years. I mean, she's been doing it for gotta be plus 10 years. She was.
Yeah. Iron Man 2.
Yeah, she was. That's what I was trying to think of. She was in one of the early Iron Mans. So when was that? Jeez. That's got to have been
2010 was Iron Man 2.
Yeah, I was thinking about 2009 in my head, somewhere around there. But
yeah,
it's 11 years.
Yeah,
it's a long time.
Tim, these guys like Marvel's, they got my pocketbook, man. Like, these guys got me. I can't escape, man. Like, it's incredible. Everything they do, I want to watch. Like all their Disney Plus series, I've gobbled up. Like I go on YouTube and I eat up everything Marvel. It's crazy. I'm addicted. Nuts.
What's your thoughts on the new Thor that's going to be coming out? Love and Thunder?
Oh, yeah.
Because they're switching it up. They're making, what's her name? Jane?
Yes, Natalie Portman.
Yeah, Natalie Portman's character. They're making her Lady Thor.
You got it. Bring it on, man. Like, there was a storyline in the comics where she was Thor. That's right. So like that's what I love about Marvel as well. They're always evolving. They don't try to stick to the stale old concepts. Like spice it up. Yeah, let's have a female Thor.
Yeah, they had it. Stuff like that years ago. Even like She-Hulk and stuff like that. And there was tons and tons, but it's just because we know why it's just because of dickhead producers and whatever, and the movie industry being what it was for I don't know 100 years, like pretty much maybe. I mean,
sorry, go ahead, Tim.
No, it's okay. Carry on.
I was just going to say that with Marvel, they have such a treasure trove of characters, like over 5,000 characters. Tim, they're never going to run out of ideas ever. Well, and you can't say that with other IP. Well, what other IP? DC, maybe. Yeah, they have a lot of characters too.
Yeah, I mean, the thing with DC is, though, they didn't create this. They've got their own multiverse in itself, but it's not nowhere near as far-spanning as it seems as Marvel. Because, if it weren't for contract rights, I don't even think they've got the X-Men yet. I'm pretty sure they've still not got the X-Men, which as soon as you start weaving that into it, it just, you know, you can do, it just kicks up everything. The Civil Wars, that was some bad shit. There was some crazy, if you're a big fan of the comics. The Civil
Sure.
War series, amazing. And you can't have that without having the X-Men. It's impossible.
Well, actually, Disney did buy Fox, which owned the X Men. So Disney does have the X Men now and
Oh.
Fantastic Four. So it's gonna get crazy, Tim. Crazy. I'm
Did you,
telling you.
did you watch the female New Mutants? Did you see that?
Oh man, I tried to. I couldn't really stomach it. So
Yeah,
how about you?
it was a strange. I mean, I watched all of that one, but I was
Mhm.
like, it was a good film. I didn't
Was it?
think it was really Marvelish. No, I didn't think it was. Didn't have that Marvel feel to it. You know, it was. I think that was when they'd probably just got the. I don't know. Maybe they just got some of the rights and was like, okay, we need to fire this out, and everyone
Right.
likes horror films at the moment, so let's go the dark angle. We've got the money. Fuck it. We're gonna make it back anyway on the next new one. You know, because they make it back all the time. So
Yeah,
let's get off the topic of Marvel.
sure.
Obviously podcasting, and you're an author. So let's talk a little bit about your books.
Yeah, sure.
Obviously you're the author of 4 books. The one that I wanted to talk about the most, again, most of your books are basketball based.
Yeah.
But the one that I wanted to talk about was called Get Booked, Attract More Clients and Boost Your Brand Through Business Podcast Guest Appearances.
Yes, sir.
A very long title. I hope I got it correct then.
That's great. Yeah.
But I've never seen a book like that, and I've yet to read it, but I'm interested in it. Can you
Okay.
tell me a little bit about it?
Well, here's the thing, Tim. Like, as you know, being a podcaster, by the way, congratulations. You started your podcast this year, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Congrats on that,
Thank
man.
you.
Like, it's an endeavor. Like, everyone out there, if you haven't started a podcast, you have to be committed. You know, you got to want to do it. And so Tim's on this journey. It's a great journey. You know, a
I
lot of great things.
occasionally
Yeah.
do some stuff on VR. I started
Oh,
doing stuff on VR because it was just, I don't know, I had a VR thing. I had a Quest 2 and I just started doing some shit on there. So occasionally I might go back to it. But sorry, carry on saying what you were saying.
yeah, man. Anyway, tip of the cap to you, Tim. Like any podcaster out there to endeavor on that journey, it's a journey and you got to want it. So well done, sir.
Thank you.
No worries. Now, in regards to this book, so I'm a believer, Tim, that the experiences you go through in life, you know, they're not a waste. Okay. I'm a believer you got to repurpose what you've learned over the years. Okay. Being in the podcast industry for like 10 years now, having multiple roles like podcast host, executive producer, writer, guest booker, sponsorship, head of sponsorships, that kind of thing, you acquire knowledge.
Yep.
Okay. And me with my podcast, I have done interview-based podcasts, and as a result, I've cultivated the skill of guest booking. Okay. Now, this book is a culmination of those tips of the stuff that I've learned. It's mainly email guest booking. I am a master. I know it sounds a bit arrogant. I'm a master of like the cold email, right? Like I could email Tim, make it look nice and sexy, very.
Your email that you sent me did look sexy. When I opened it, I was like, "Oh, this is overblowing," and all my emails that I send, like it was structured. It looked nice. It did look sexy.
Right. Like there's the things that I learned, there's certain psychological things that you need in an email to influence people, right? So the reason why I came up with this book is because business owners, like entrepreneurs, anybody who wants to get a hold of somebody to like be at their event or maybe fundraise, who knows what the reason is, but at the end of it, it's about influence. Okay. And so to be a guest on a podcast is to have, you know, to piggyback someone else's influence. Okay. And you do that because you want to promote yourself, promote your business,
Yep.
and also serve their audience. Like that's got to be your first thing, is to serve audiences. So this book is to help the entrepreneur, help the person who wants to gather more influence, who wants to promote themselves, to get onto podcasts. That's basically the point of this book. And I give you a roadmap via emails. Like, Tim, man, like I don't get on the phone. I don't phone people to be on my shows or to do what I need. It's all freaking email.
Yeah, yeah.
So this book holds your hand. It's a short book. It gets right to the goods. It explains the philosophy, the psychology behind creating an influential email, like a sexy, hooky kind of email, where people will be like, you know what? I gotta read this over again, and then it allows that person to understand what you're going after and what they can get from it. So it's really that's what that book's about. It's about booking you, the small business owner, the guy that wants to promote your stuff in any way or shape, and to get onto the relevant podcasts that will find the right audience for you. Like, you're always shopping for your audience, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Tim wants to say Tim's like a chef, or he's just came out with a cookbook. He's got to get on these, like, cooking podcasts, food podcasts. So this book would help you because it'll teach you how to find the right podcast for you. And then the next level, since you're just off the street, nobody knows you, it'll create instant credibility for you. It'll help you to figure out where your credibility is, how to package it in an email and send it out to people to let them know, listen, if you have Tim on your podcast, you're going to benefit, your audience is going to benefit, and Tim's going to benefit. It's going to be a triple win here. So that's what exactly, man.
A win-win-win situation is the best outcome you can ever get. Like, you can't get any better than that.
Exactly. And this book, man, listen, there are podcast guest booking agencies out there. I used to have one. You mentioned earlier, podcast interview experts. They will charge you an arm and a leg, but this is a freaking book. It's like $15 American, which is a steal.
Yeah.
And this book, like, I firmly believe this book can make people thousands of dollars.
Have you ever had, I mean, this is something I come across recently, and it was one of my questions that I'm sending out to authors. I've got a friend that's, well, I've got a couple of guests that are now friends, and we always chat. And they've recently had sort of people buying their books and then reselling them at a higher price on Amazon. And it's kind of fucked up because some of them were then, like, showing massive differences. It was like $20, and then it'd go up to something like, well, it went up to 5,000 pesos or some bullshit like that. But it was in pesos. It was crazy. Like, that someone had bought it and resold it out. Well, I don't think anyone's going to buy it, but the person that spoke to me about it was like, it works out to the equivalent of like 250 quid or something like that. Some crazy. Have you ever had that experience happen to you?
No, like, when I go on Amazon, like, the books seem, they're always at like $15. Like, the resellers, they don't up it like that. That's insane. I've seen that situation before.
It's kind of crazy. I didn't even know it existed until yesterday. I think I come across it, and I was like, "What the fuck is this?" Because I've got a few books I want to buy off previous guests. And then when I was looking, I was like, "Wait a minute, what's this crazy resale value as well?" And it was preposterous. I was like,
I don't buy those. Obviously, don't buy those.
Well, I'm not going to know because I'm going to buy from the direct person. But the fact that someone's got the audacity to do that is, I don't know if there's anything that you can. Well, there's nothing that you can really do, I'd imagine. Not in any sort of publishing sense, I don't think.
The author adjusts their own prices, like on Amazon. So, but I can't control what a reseller does. That's out of my
Well, people always want to make money. That's the problem. So, what made you go into doing like basketball? Where did all the basketball come from? Because again, your book is about the Raptors. I did write what it was called, but 100 things Raptor fans should know and do before they die. I think that was what it is.
Yes, for your listeners and viewers, if you decide to show this, if you're not aware what the Raptors are, they're a National Basketball Association basketball team called the Toronto Raptors. Yep. So I used to be a national TV sports reporter / voiceover guy, and I covered all different sports here in North America. And I covered the Raptors. I'm based in Toronto, so I covered them, and they were a favorite team of mine. And I also did a basketball podcast. I co-hosted one, and we interviewed many Raptors. We got media press releases, not press releases, but press badges to get into the games and stuff like that. So anyway, I developed quite a bit of knowledge over the years. I have been a fan since the team's inception, 1995. So I was really itching to get a book done because in 2011, I had written a quote book based on our basketball podcast. So basically, it was a collection of different quotes from the different guests we've had, like really outrageous, fun quotes. And during that process, I developed the itch to try and get a traditional publisher where they would pay me to write the book. So eventually, I came up with the idea of the Raptors book because I noticed in the marketplace, nobody else had a book about the Raptors.
Okay.
So, Tim, as I mentioned earlier, I'm about seizing the moment, right? There was a gap.
That makes
And I'm
perfect
like,
sense. You've seen it.
that's it, man. Out there, everybody, you got to seize the moment. And that's what I did. I noticed that there was a gap. I had the background being a sports reporter. So I went out to the sports publisher, like sent them an email, never talked to them on the phone, man. I sent them an email saying who I was, what the book is about, what gap does it fill, and the most important, how they will make money. Tim, this is so key. Whenever you reach out to people, whether it's for you to be a guest on a show or trying to get a book deal or whatever, it's not about you, bud. It's about them. How can you make their lives better, make them money? That's where you start from because everyone is focused on themselves, right?
Well, it's very true. I mean, this is why the only thing that I do is I just get people on and I want them to just promote stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not really that bothered about money. I kind of see this as a hobby. But there was a lot of people when the World Cup had just gone off that were probably made a lot of money just because they just started a podcast up there and then on the spot and seized that moment. The World Cup was coming up. Hey, let's do a podcast. Let's just cover it all. Bang! 1 million views a pop, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, it's not going to continue. It was a very short burst, but there's still going to be consistent money to be made just from adverts and whatever. But there's a lot of people that can seize the moment, and it's finding that right opportunity. And the basketball. If no one had a Raptors book and you saw that and you saw that opportunity and you seized it, that is a skill and a talent because it's very rare to find these small little cracks within the industry where you can go, hey, you haven't got this, so I'm going to make it now. There's very few moments where you can do that. It's like trying to invent something. Like, good luck with that. Like you're gonna have to really think outside the box for that.
Tim, I'm telling you, not enough people are self-aware. Like, just take a moment, look around. Like everyone's so tunnel vision. Like we all have our own universe. But if you just take a peek, wait a second, that doesn't sound right. That doesn't look right. And we don't take the leadership. We're so used to working for somebody else.
Yep.
Okay, I don't want anything to do with it. I'm just gonna work 9 to 5, that kind of thing. But if you take the opportunity just to take the moment and like, whoa, you know what? There's more than this. Like, there's stuff that's happening that I could really take advantage of and help people. Like, that's another thing. This book, it served a fan base. Like, this team has a thriving legion of people that are like ride or die, and they didn't have something out there that could educate them, entertain them. So I was also helping from that standpoint too. You just gotta be aware. We're all, a lot of us are just running on autopilot, Tim. We're just 9 to 5, eat, sleep, wake up, blah blah blah.
How did you get into interviewing people? What was the journey into that? Obviously, did you just start? Because again, did you just come through podcasting? Did you just then start showing up at the games? And because that's sometimes what you have to do is you just have to go and put yourself there again in the moment. And just go, hey, I'm just going to show up, and if I can, get someone, it happens. Who cares? If it doesn't, we'll try again next week. Was it one of them kind of deals, or how was the journey? I'd imagine so. I'd imagine that you would have been one of these people that turns up for ride or die yourself, and you're just like, right, I'm going to try and get this person on. I'm going to fucking try, and if I can, bang, it's done. I'd imagine that's what kind of person you are.
Well, definitely, I'm a go for it kind of person when it comes to my career, for sure. Now, how did it first evolve? I gotta admit, like when I was like a teenager, I liked asking questions. I loved hearing other people's stories. When other people wanted just too busy talking about themselves, I wanted to find out, hey, Tim, tell me what's going on. Like, what's your evolution? I gotta say, I was kind of extreme, man. Like, people be like, because I was so intense about it, I'd be like,
yeah.
So Tim, tell me about your life. And people would be like, what the F? what is it with this guy? So it's definitely out of curiosity of people's stories. I love hearing how people came to be, because the people in your life, Tim, right now, they only became who they've become because of stuff that happened in their past. But we don't take the time to figure that out. We don't ask them, right? I was very curious about that sort of thing. So that's how the interviews came to be, and it was just really just piquing a curiosity.
So how did it come to be? Again, you have interviewed some very famous people,
Mm,
Beyonce,
yeah,
Jamie Foxx.
yeah.
I mean, we can put C3PO on that list, but those two, wow, what was it like meeting them?
So okay, so Beyonce was actually a telephone call. Okay, so it's 2008. So you have to understand, like I had just I was let go from my dream job in 2007, still trying to find my way, and like, what am I gonna do with my life, right? Because I identified with being a sports reporter. Dave's the sports guy, right? So I was fledgling a bit, and during that time, I discovered writing. Okay, so entertainment writing. I'm like, you know what? I did the sports thing. Let's try this entertainment stuff, right? So around late 2007, I got on board with this online magazine website called the Tub Magazine.
No,
Like, actually,
that could mean that's so vague. That could mean anything. That could be
ex-
plastic tubs. That could be fat people. Could be anything. I mean, if it was in the UK, I'd imagine if it was the Tubbs magazine, it would be a joke made by people that are just hateful and against obese people, that just write
oh,
these random columns. Because again, this I'd imagine so. What was it really? What was the magazine?
what was, I don't, okay. So what was it you said about obese people? What's the tie-in? The Tubs. What does that mean in UK?
Tubs, like tub. It's like a weird sort of thing you call
Oh,
overweight people, like
got it.
tubs. Got it, like tubby. It's like a
Got it.
shortened term for that. And it's okay because my partner, she's got a bit of tubs to her, so, and I call her that sometimes. It doesn't go down well,
Oh
you know.
my God.
Doesn't go down well, but it's okay because we go
Right.
back and forth all the time. So
Oh
the
man.
only reason I'm saying that now is because I say it on a regular basis.
Right.
We come up with I always come up with stupid fucking nicknames for her. She kind of hates it. She
Oh,
gives it back occasionally, but her roasting skills against mine, a little bit, it's a little bit biased on. It's a little bit biased. Let's put it that way. But
right.
so Tubbs magazine. Before we offend too many people.
Right, right. Yes, yes. So the Tub magazine, based in Southern California, just a website. It was basically a movie and music kind of online zine. And I needed a place to do my writing, to get my reps in, because I was absolute nobody in regards to that field, right? So anyway, once upon a time, I figured to myself, I hear that Solange Knowles, Beyonce's sister, is coming out with a CD in 2008. And I
Okay.
thought to myself, wait a second. Okay, so Solange is not that well known at the time. And I'm like, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to reach out to Solange's dad, who managed both her and Beyonce at the time. I'm going to just do some feelers, see like
It's
if
a
he's
bold
interested.
move.
And guess what? I didn't call him. I dropped a message on the website, Matthew Knowles Entertainment website. And before I knew it, I got a message back saying, yeah, let's do an interview with Solange. So the game plan was you get Solange, do a bang up job, impress daddy, then you go back, circle back in 6 months and reach out for Beyonce, because Beyonce was also releasing a CD that very same year, I Am Sasha Fierce. Dude, it played out perfectly because I did the article, they loved it, reached back in 6 months. Matthew Knowles gave me the stamp of approval. Before I know it, I'm on the phone. I'm in my apartment bedroom. I'm in like shorts, sitting on the carpet in my bedroom because I had a
Holy
recording
shit.
device connected to my tape recorder. Tape recorder. This is like prehistoric, man. Like a tape recorder connected to my phone, and I'm like hunched near the outlet
I can
because the
imagine.
cord's not very long. And I'm about to interview like one of the true superstar musicians or singers in the world at that time. And I just told myself, this is a freaking dream, man. Like, dude, I'm a nobody. And here am I in my freaking shorts, and sitting talking to this person. But my attitude always, Tim, whenever there's a moment where you have to elevate, I always tell myself, dude, let's just have some fun. Beyonce's just a girl, man. Beyonce's just a person. You know, don't get psyched out. Just have fun. And as soon as the interview started, after speaking with the publicist, I'm like, hey, how's it going, Beyonce? You know, like right into it, man. It's just like you're talking to a friend. That's
Well,
the approach.
that's kind of the way I do my podcast is I just like to talk to people and just it's never really heavily structured. There's some
Mm.
there is a bit of structure. I'll do some notes, some research, but I just like to get to know people as well because it's just there's always two sides to people. You get that person that is on the camera doing podcasting, and then you get that person that's at their home. And 9 times out of 10, if you do a podcast with the right person, you can get the fucking lot rather than it just being this interview-based podcast or pure nonsense.
Mm-hmm.
And if you interweave them, well, it could work. I don't know. I'm hoping it works.
Right.
It's if I didn't drink as much, it might play a bigger factor. But again, authors, Beyonce, you're extremely busy guy, and fortune favors the bold, man, and you're completely on it. Like,
you have to be, man. Like, like, dude, life's short, man. Just go for it.
What do you think drives you the most? Like, because even then, you said about your childhood and you always wanted to ask questions, but what do you think drove it all? Because there's always something that gives you a drive to do it. Like, there's a passion to it.
Yeah, that's a great question. Tim, like, when I was younger, I had epilepsy. I was overweight, a lot of self-esteem issues. Grade 7, I when I thought about my future, I thought I'd be pumping gas. No offense to people who pump gas, it's just I just didn't think much of myself. But then, like, in my brain, something just clicked in high school. I'm like, dude, you're so much more than this, man. Go get it. Go get it. And part of that, I think, was because I was pursuing a girl at the time in high school that I was enamored with.
My downfall.
Oh, there you go. Like, I was overweight in high school the first few years. Then I wanted to pursue this girl. So I remember during that summer, I was just so extreme trying to like work out. And I developed this work ethic. Then all of a sudden I had this mindset of just go after it, man, no matter what. Like, dreams. I know it sounds very cliche and very whatever, but I'm a full believer in it, man. Just find what you dig.
Still work
out? Yeah, I do work out. I play a lot of basketball. Like, for me, weight's always been a fluctuating thing in my life. It's up, it's down. So we always try to stay healthy, but always try to be physically active. But yeah, man, like, it's always about personal challenge too. Like, in regards to achieving certain things, can I do it? Can I interview Beyonce? I'm like, I'm nobody. Can I do this? And I'm like, F yeah, man. Just go put it out there. A lot of people are scared, Tim. They're scared to try, man.
Yeah,
and,
I've not got a message back yet, but I like to go on Reddit Live. Sorry for cutting you up. Hopefully this might be able to get it in. But I was recently on again, I wasn't doing the Facebook Live, but I go on and watch musicians. And there was a Taiwanese lady who is fucking phenomenal. I'm not entirely sure on what the instrument that she had. It was like kind of an electric mandolin. It was kind of crazy.
Wow.
But I clicked on there for a second. Like, after my show, I was like, let's just listen to some stuff while I'm processing audio. And I was listening, and I was like, this sounds really familiar. And it was a Muse song, and it was Newborn. And I was like, holy shit, this is so good. And then I put a message on there, and I was like, hey, I'd love to get you on the show. And the original poster said, drop an email. So I've dropped an email, but I'm waiting to hear back. I don't know how famous she is. She seems pretty legit, man. She seems fucking super great. But I was like, you need to come on a podcast because I want to talk to you. Like, anyone that's playing music like so well. She was so fast, like crazy fast. And it wasn't just that one song. She was kicking out song after song. And I was like, man, this is some serious talent.
Right.
But it was just, again, you have to kind of... In fact, I've done it twice.
Okay.
There's been two artists. Another one, It's called Akira the Don, and he does a form of music called Meaning Wave. And what he does is he takes talks from people, puts music to it, and it
Right.
is phenomenal.
Right.
Like phenomenal music. And I want to talk to the guy because it's some brand new kind of genre. Like I've never heard anyone else do it.
Wow.
So I want to talk to the guy. So I was like, I'm gonna have to send an email. But they were the only two pretty emails that I'd sent in my history of podcasting, where I was like, we need to make this kind of look a bit sexy. I was like, because I want to get these people, but I've yet to hear anything. So
Are you open to some feedback?
yeah.
I'll give you some feedback. Okay, so remember, I like to whip up cold emails, right? So when you were doing your emails to those guys, what did you say? Like, did you talk about who you are, what your show, how it can help them?
Yeah, well, I basically said that I noticed that the first person, they're going and doing a tour in the States. And although I'm from the UK, most of my listeners are from the States. So I was like, I mentioned that. I was like, hey, I think it could help in this way. If you're going on tour and blah, 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 I know my numbers. I know where they're at.
You're good.
And so I was like, this is what I feel I can do. Let's see what we can do. The second one, I kind of feel like it was more of me as a fan. Right. So I'm not so sure how that's going to go. I sent that one first, by the way.
Right.
Yeah. And when I realised it's been a bit of time, I've not gave up on it, but I realised the next email I'm going to have to, spark it up a bit and really make it look good. But I don't know. Again, I'm relaying it to a different country as well for a start. So I don't know. Okay,
so can I give you some tips here?
Absolutely.
All right, cool. Just don't want to step on anybody's toes.
No. I'm always open to suggestions. Always.
Okay, because I've done this so many times, man. Like guest booking, all that sort of thing. This is right up my alley. Okay, so you reached out to that first person. You said, okay, she's touring in the States. You said how your show can help her. Another thing you could have added, maybe. Yeah, and I've also had these guests on my show that like are relevant to her, just to show social proof that, hey, if they like your show, being on your show, maybe she can join as well. So you could add social proof in there in addition to like what you could do for them.
I did that, but I didn't put any specific names. So
okay, but yeah, something to consider, like musicians that maybe are somewhat similar to her. Like I think you said she was pretty diverse, but just maybe add a little bit of like past guests that are relevant to that person so they can relate. And it's like, being invited to a party, like who else is invited? You know what I mean? That kind of thing. Yeah. That's one piece. But yeah, also in regards to the powers in the follow-up, okay? I have a sequence. This is what I do. I send out one email, give it a couple days, right? You send a follow-up. You say, hey, just checking in, make sure you've received the email and also get your thoughts about it. Look forward to your opinion, whatever. Then you give it another couple of days. Your last email, hey, I sent you a few emails, just checking in, making sure you got them, that kind of thing. Then if you still haven't gotten anything, wait a month, do it again. It's just my 3 email sequence. It's pretty good. And the subject titles, what was your subject title to each of those people? Like, do you remember?
Oh, it was just my show name. That's all it was. It was just the name of my show.
You could do that. Maybe personalize it. Hi, first name, period. Your post-human podcast invite, guest invite. People like to be invited, Tim. So
well, maybe one thing that I am looking at doing. One thing. Just catch my breath again.
That's okay, no problem.
I had to run then.
Oh no.
I'm not a big fan of running. One of the things that I was going to do was create, because again I'm a big fan of doing like random graphics and stuff like that. Yeah. So I almost thought about doing sort of one of those and sort of tying that into it. Mm-hmm. Whether that's a good suggestion or not, I don't know.
If it's relevant, yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Just see. I mean, I like to personalize stuff anyway, but obviously there's a lot of work involved with that, especially if you're doing it and tailoring it to a person. You know, it's there's a process even then to podcasting. I'm sure you know where there's the show itself, there's setting everything up, there's processing everything after. You know, there's organising things. There's a lot to it.
You got it.
So if you're going to personalise it, you need secondary life, I think.
Right.
Maybe it depends if you've got kids or not. Kids is probably the one that slows a lot of people down.
Yeah.
What was one of the hardest things you had to overcome?
Jeez, man. There's been a few. You know what? Everyone's got a story, man. We all got
We all have hiccups in life, you know.
Hold on, man. I'll say, okay, 2006. That was probably to this point the worst year ever. I had developed a heavy metal poisoning. So what that means is, yeah, I'll get into that. So basically, that year, I did like, basically, it's hard to describe. Basically, I had all these heavy metals like aluminum, some mercury, all in my body, causing me to like have like Parkinson's like symptoms, shaking. I had sizzling on my brain, inside my brain. It was nuts. Like the whole year I was out of commission. I was stapled to a couch, holding onto a bat, like a baseball bat, because I was so dissociative. I was so not with it. I didn't feel like I was part of this earth because all this crap was in myself. Now, how did it get there? Okay, there's a lot of theories. You know, I was in a building that was 35 years old, an apartment building, and I drank the water. So there's that. Also, the way that I was living my life, I ate a lot of tuna cans. I was not a very emotional person, so I kept a lot of crap in. All these things created this magic storm, Tim. And my body said, screw you. I'm going to screw you up right now. So that was probably the lowest of the low, like where Tim, it was unbelievable. Like I was so out of it. Like say driving a car, I for some reason I tilted all the way to my left. I'd be sitting in the car seat, but for some reason, whatever this crap was doing to me, I would be like sitting like bent over at my left hip. I'm like, what is? I had to go see a therapist. Like they're like, what do you like? Nobody knew what was going on until a neighbor of mine who had gone through mercury poisoning, like dental fillings, and she had suffered something similar, like dissociative stuff. She recommended going to a doctor who was big into chelation therapy. So what that is, they give you an intravenous, and they send these, I guess I don't know what you call them, like vitamins or chemicals that actually tear off the metals off your cells. So I went through that therapy, and thank God it worked, man, because my life would be much different right now. So that was the lowest of the low. And then I got let go from my job the following year. And, you know, for a few years, just doing like all these little jobs. Like I was a 35-year-old valet at one point. No offense to valets. Like my ego got so punched so many times. Like I was on TV, Tim, right? My ego is like, I'm a TV guy. Then before I knew it, I was like unplugging toilets at a freaking country inn. So we all go through our stuff, Tim. We all learn, man. So those were my lower moments, but ever since then, it's been on the upswing. We're gradually progressing upwards. So,
well, I mean, again, we all have dealt really shit hands sometimes. I mean, at one of my greatest points in my life, I ended up with kidney stones at like the age of 20 fucking 2.
Right.
I got told as well when I was 24, I had a calcified prostate. Wow. I'm like, what the fuck does that even mean? I'm like, and then when I looked into it, I was like, man, that's something middle-aged men get. But that was because, again, I had a crap lifestyle choice. I just lived off dairy for like my whole childhood. Like I drink bucket loads of milk and cheese would be on anything. And it wouldn't just be like a bit of cheese. It'd be like, no, we're having the block. You know, it's like a pasta bake, boom, block of cheese. Nice. Milkshake. Yeah, we're drinking it by the fucking 2.5 pint at the minute. You know, it was a wild. It fucked me up. But even then, there were calcium-based stones. The first one, It just annihilated me. It was just really big, and I couldn't.
Mhm.
But at that time, I was a warehouse supervisor, and it was like I'd got up to this fucking progression through everything, and
Wow.
I'd kind of moved job to job, got certain MVQs, and just had these lucky breaks. But then I had this just bang, a crazy shitstorm of just out of nowhere, just because I
Oh,
wasn't looking after my body at the time.
wow. And so
And
no doctors had ever pointed it out to you before, nothing like.
no, well, the story behind it is that
Yeah.
basically I was just I'd had some backache at the time, and I just put it down to just working at a warehouse. I was like the hardest worker there. I was working my balls off, and I was training new people that were coming in as well.
Right.
And again, they were too and few, so a couple of new people have come in, and we still have to hit the end of the day, like loading on trucks. So I have to still pick up the slack. And this had gone on for four months, and I'd had some horrible backache, and just thought nothing of it. I just didn't even. I just thought, wow, it's just backache. I'm lifting car engines every day.
Wow.
What are you expecting?
Yeah.
And I'd gone into my bathroom one night, and I just tried to have a piss. And I mean, at the time, I was half living at my parents'.
Right.
But my parents were like my mum. Well, I was with my mum, but she was living at her partner's, so she had this flat, and then she kind of was like, oh, "I'm going to move out. Like, do you want the opportunity to have it? Blah blah blah."
Yeah.
So I was eventually going to take it over. Relationship issues and whatever, fuck that off in later on.
Right.
But obviously, if it weren't for the fact that one night she was staying over, I'd just gone to take a piss and just boom, hit the deck, blacked out, and woke
Jeez.
up in just pure agony, like I couldn't do anything. Like it was just, I'd never experienced a pain like it as well, and it was just tears were fucking streaming, and
Yeah, I believe.
obviously I was in hospital for like 12 days, some shit like that. They was trying to get me to piss it to begin with, and they was like, it's pretty big. Might have to do keyhole. And I was like, I don't really want to do that.
Right. Yeah.
And then, I mean, I wouldn't have had a choice, to be honest. But they just gave me a bunch of meds, and it half broke down, but pissing it out, it come out in 3 bits. And it was, and these 3 bits were over some sort of 6-hour period.
Shoot.
And I was taking, I was on morphine. I was on everything. I had suppositories, you name it. I was on the works.
Man.
Like it was a traumatic moment as well for a fucking young man. And it's like, hey, the best thing's suppositories. I'm like, oh really? It is okay. Like yeah, it's the best thing. Trust me. All right, give me that morphine.
Oh, man.
So yeah, man. But that's what I'm saying. Like I had that pretty young, but I couldn't imagine getting heavy metal poisoning because that just shuts everything down. Starts binding to stuff, and then that blood's going everywhere.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? It starts binding to those blood cells, and they're pumping throughout your whole body. And then going through your organs as well.
It's
And mercury poisonings. Oh, I wouldn't want to.
It's all good now.
Deal with that.
But
Yeah,
I don't want to deal with what you went through either, man. Like that sounds terrible.
Kidneys. Yeah, well, I get them every once in a while. They still come
Right.
back. Once you get them, you just doesn't matter what you do. I've probably got 4 or 5 that are just floating around at the minute. That just
Wow.
it's so strange how you can still have them, but it takes a couple of weeks to process them, and you
So
can
your diet,
get them as well.
Your diet changed? Have you?
Well, I changed it for a little bit, but
Yeah.
I kept getting them still, so I just left it. I was like, I changed my diet for 3 years, 4 years, and then like I was still getting them. So I was like, well, that was pointless. I took out all my favourite foods. So I was like, we're just going to do a balance now. And, I spoke to my doctor about it, and he was like, yeah, you're probably just going to keep getting them. So I was like, all right, fair enough. Like, if that's the case. I went on to soy. I did loads of stuff. Completely got rid of most meat and made no difference whatsoever. I just kept getting them, and I was just like, fuck this. I'm just gonna just take it back a bit and just keep a balance.
Right.
So I don't drink as much milk nowadays.
Okay. And so that approach has helped you. Like it's less. Yeah.
It was just. I think most of it was just the cheese, because again, I was a huge fan of just pasta growing up, and I'd always have cheese with it, or it'd be like pizza. Let's get double fucking cheese, or
Yeah.
You know, it could be anything. You know, just mostly pasta bakes, to be honest.
Right.
So again, we're stepping off a little bit. Obviously, spoke a little bit about journalism.
Yeah.
Obviously, the podcast that you do now, we haven't really spoke about that. Podcast interview experts. I mean, I've not seen a link for it. Is it a real podcast? As in terms of you talking? Is it?
No. So I'll give you some clarity around that. So Podcast Interview Experts was a podcast guest booking agency I had for a couple of years. It's not a podcast. I was helping entrepreneurs get on podcasts. So that's closed up. Currently, I don't host a podcast. I've hosted or co-hosted a couple in the past. Right now, I'm an executive producer of a podcast called The Successful Bookkeeper. So as you can tell by the title, it's a niche podcast meant for bookkeepers. So I book guests for that show. I'm an executive producer, that kind of thing. So I've been a little bit of everything.
That's that's extremely niche for bookkeepers.
Very nice. Yeah.
That's, again, you're seeing these little cracks in the world. A podcast for bookkeepers. What do they talk about? That's crazy. That's so strange. Well, what's the context behind that? I can't imagine. I mean, again, my mind can run very wild, and I can pretty much pick up a topic and get it to somewhere.
Sure.
But I'm like, bookkeepers, how would they? Right. I mean, unless it was talking about like dodgy ones in the game that used to sort of do stuff for the mafia, or some crazy sort of deals like that. These rogue bookkeepers.
Right. Well, actually,
I like that. That'd kind of be a bit cool.
You would listen to that one. You would listen to that one.
Probably would.
So basically, I have a 9 to 5 gig, and the 9 to 5 gig, I do a lot of different roles. It's a bookkeeping company that sells online manuals to bookkeepers, like for sales, HR. Exactly. That's the 9 to 5, man. You gotta pay the bills, bud. So
selling bookkeeping manuals to bookkeepers.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Well, it's more like HR, sales, how to do HR, that kind of thing. But anyway, so that company has a podcast, and that's The Successful Bookkeeper. So that's one of my roles, is to be an executive producer, guest booker for that. Now, the show itself, basically, it helps bookkeepers run their businesses. Like, it helps them with all the little things that you need to make sure a business is successful. So I'm not going to bore you, but it's just teaching them how to hire the right staff, how to raise your prices. That it's very how-to educational kind of stuff.
Very sort of internal kind of deal then.
You got it. So no mafia cases, man. I wish. That'd be interesting.
That would make a great show.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know. Not even for the mafia. You got a lot of gambling people and stuff like that, like running the books and in Wall Street, shit like that. That'd be a great show. Maybe you should do a show. Maybe you should do a show like that. Just give me some co-credit for it. That's all I'll ask.
Get Tim a cut. Yeah, no passion for that, man. But yeah, man. So that's another thing about the journey, man. You gotta evolve. You gotta be open to different things, man. Like for me, if I decided, Tim, just to be a sports guy, I would have been out of work a long time ago, man. You have to adapt. That's the way it works now, man.
So what about in sort of today's market in terms of adapting? What's your next step? Have you got any next sort of moves and plays?
See, that's the great question. See, that's definitely, I'm looking for the next career adventure. So it's, listen, man, I read all the books. The self-help stuff, You've
read
Trump's book?
Yeah.
Which one?
The Art of the Deal, I think it's called.
I've read that, I think. I've read some of that. But just trying to figure out the next step, man. This is the problem with me. I don't know if it's with you, Tim, or the listeners and viewers, is clarity. Like, where do you want to focus your time? Because I'm the type of guy, I like doing a lot of different things.
Yeah, me too.
You do, right? You get it. So it's like, damn, we live in a society where there's so much choice. So you like what I'm trying to do is you're trying to marry what you dig with what people need help with, and trying to put that together, because you need a market, right? Like you need to figure out something you want to do that other people need help with, and then you get paid for it, right? It's not just a hobby. I'm not interested in just a hobby. I want this to be like a living. So that's where I'm at, man. So I'm doing the pros and cons, writing down stuff, where'd you move my cheese, all that sort of thing. I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. So that's where I'm at. Like it's really a strange place because I'm the type of guy, I'm always generating ideas, books, podcasts, movies, all that sort of thing. So
You're a creative, essentially.
yeah, I would say so. I would say so. So it's just a mattering of figuring that out. And I think it's having more conversations like this to just to just spitball with people and see what other people have been doing. Like, what about you, Tim? Like, what do you do? Like, so you're doing the podcast, so this is a new venture for you.
Yeah, this is a new venture. I'm essentially, like I say, I used to do warehouse work. I kind of, again, I'm disabled as well.
Okay.
My right foot, I was born with 3 toes.
Okay.
Which is very. I was kind of born with 4 toes. 3 of them are there. One of them's just not quite there, which sounds strange.
Okay.
But there's a bunch of bones missing as well, and occasionally, it plays up. I have to have a bit of give and take with that because sometimes I could have a good day. Sometimes I'm like, oh, we kind of walked a bit too far. There was a great video of me fucking around a couple of months ago where me and my partner and my son, we went out to have a pub meal, and it was about a mile and a half walk. It's not that far. Probably not even that. Probably about a mile too. We walked out and we had a bit of a day, and then when we was walking back, my ankle was just starting to play up, and I'll just start limping. And then immediately I know what happens is it's grinding down. So it's no longer a hinge joint, it's a ball and socket joint.
Wow.
It's just ground down for 30 years, essentially.
Yeah.
And basically, we was coming down this road and I seen an office chair, like a desk chair.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck this, I'm just going to ride this chair home. So that's what I did. I just kicked my way home on an office chair. It was fantastic. Videoed it as well. It was genius. A genius moment. Who needs crutches when you could just go everywhere on a desk chair?
There you go.
It was a great moment, but it was a triumph for me because I was like, hey, disability, I won this fight. Well, I did then because I found a chair, but if I didn't,
right.
If nobody left that office chair out, I'd have been fucked. But
right.
Obviously at the minute, because I've got these disabilities and every time I go back into work, shit goes wrong. I'm just completely signed off. So obviously I'm a stay-at-home dad. My partner's a carer. For the elderly mostly.
Okay.
And then obviously I'm just stay-at-home dad, look after my son.
That's awesome, man.
But my next, it was another reason why I started to do podcasting because I was just sat on my ass for a while.
Right.
And I was kind of in this strange zone myself where I was like, I'm not really putting anything back into the world. I'm not really doing anything.
Sure.
I'm like, okay, I'm doing stuff for my son, but that's only going to go so far.
Right.
And if I can't do something for myself, I'm not going to be able to do very little for him. So, in a way, I kind of want to get somewhere with it, but this is just a bigger thing of what I want to do.
Right.
Kind of want to go to comedy a little bit, but everywhere's kind of still partially shut down at the moment.
Right.
So I kind of want to give that a bit of a stab. I've been writing pretty much all throughout COVID.
Oh, good stuff.
Occasionally, I'll just shit. I'll riff on my show bullshit.
Right.
But that's the next step is, just keep doing what I'm doing. Really, there's no massive next step.
Okay.
It's just I've got these small milestones, and that's it. If I hit them, we're all good. That's about it.
That's great, man. Like, keep doing it. Keep doing the show, the comedy. Like, just try it out. See what happens as a result. In regards to your disability, I don't know if you know the man. His name is Nick Vujicic. He is a speaker from Australia.
I don't know. I'll write that down.
You know what? I'll drop this link in the chat here. This guy has no arms, no legs. Okay, and he is a famous speaker. Okay, let me just drop this in here. So, you have the foot that you're dealing with.
Yeah, got it.
Okay, this guy, he has no arms, no legs, and he has become like an incredible speaker, wanted throughout the whole world, talking about his story, no limits. So, dude, yeah, you're going through your stuff, but it could be a strength for you, man. You could definitely leverage it. So it's great. What I love about you, Tim, is you're not, you're not just, just sitting in the corner. You have what you have. You have. Oh yeah, kind of. I guess. Yeah, whatever. You get what I'm saying. But you're not letting it stopping you from living, man, and going after stuff. So I appreciate that about you, man. So keep doing it, man.
Thank you, man.
Yeah, keep doing this. This is great. I didn't know. I had no idea you were battling with that. So.
No, well, it's the thing is, and this is another reason why I kind of wanted to pursue comedy as well. One of the shows, one of the podcasts I watch is called Kill Tony.
Okay.
And it's basically it's comedians, and they go on in front of Tony Hinchcliffe and Brian Redban, and there's normally a guest comedian on, like a panel.
Right.
So people will come on, they get 60 seconds, and then they'll have a mini interview after.
Right.
And it's amazing. You get people that are amazing. You get people that bomb. It's diverse as you can get. And to be honest, I think it's the #1 live podcast in the world. It's live, and it's probably the #1 live podcast in the world. But there was a regular on there called Michael Leyer, who's been a comedian for many, many years, who suffers from Lou Gehrig's disease, ALS.
Yeah.
Obviously, completely. We talk about battles, and he's battling that, and he's recently just had to step down.
Oh.
He was smashing it for a long time, to the point you go from standing up to being in a wheelchair, and then the more fame, and you're fucking killing it, and then you kind of have to step down for these very emotional reasons, but the fact that he's battled and gone through it, loved every single minute of it, it's almost an accomplishment in a way for himself. You almost have to, there's a big respect, there's a huge amount of respect, and I see people like that and I go, man, that's a battle, and if you can do it, fucking anybody can, anybody can, realistically,
That's you, man. You can do it. There's no doubt. It's great. It's good to hear that you're pursuing these things, man.
Well, I've just got to wait for places to open up. Well, obviously we'll round off a bit. I didn't mean to take that intermission. I know you're a very, very busy man.
No worries.
What's your process with writing just before we finish off? I mean, obviously when you're doing stuff, there's got to be a process to all of this. What is that?
Yeah, well, with the books that I did, you start off with an outline. If there are other books in the marketplace that are similar to yours, like I know with the podcast book, I looked at others that were already out there, and I looked at their outlines or chapters and stuff like that. I'm like, okay, you get a vibe for the structure, because if you can nail the outline, it's much easier to write the book. Because if you just write the book like you're in the middle of the book, oh yeah, I'll just write chapter 8. You have no context of where the map is. Like your outline's the map. So I start with the outline of the different chapters I want to tackle, and for each chapter, you want a little summation of what that chapter is, just to give you an understanding of like, okay, what is needed for this chapter? What is my thesis? What am I trying to prove? What's my argument? What content do I want to put out in this chapter? So you systematically do each chapter like that, and then you just add to it. It really depends on the book. Like my books are more research based. Like my Raptors book, it was about harvesting all the different stories from that franchise's history. So you got to categorize. Like, okay, so this first chapter is going to be about the franchise's first superstar. The second chapter about when they won this championship. So yeah, basically you nail your outline. That's your roadmap. That'll get you started. Now, in regards to actually writing the book, okay, you got to chunk it. Okay, if you don't know what chunk it means like small bites. Okay, so when I was doing the Raptors book, I had to pull off 100 different chapters. Okay, and I had to do it within like less than 4 months because my publisher needed that book handed in. So what I did was okay, dude, we got to do per night like 2 to 3 chapters. So that systematically, you just got to break it down like that. So that's how that book worked. Obviously, if it's fiction, maybe it's word count. Maybe, Tim, you got to write 2,000 words a day.
Yep.
The goal is to get to 90,000 by this date. Got to do 2 to 5 every day. You have to commit to it. So that's the best way to tackle a book, man. You got to chunk it, because books are massive. It's a lot of work. You got to really want it, man. It's delayed gratification. So that's my process, is just break it down, have your outline, dedicate yourself every day to pumping out the amount of content that you need to per day. It's got to be a small chunk, because otherwise you're going to overwhelm yourself.
I mean, I briefly did a bit of writing, and that's what I did. I cut it down into 2000s.
Yeah.
So I'd do that a day, but even then I kind of half burnt out. I mean, I've got a third of what I needed to done. I'm at like 50,000 words, and it's going to be 150.
That's good.
But I got to that point, and I don't know. I like to do this whole multiverse intertwining shit myself.
Sure, man.
And I think I bit off more than I can chew in terms of my ideas and creativity.
Right.
I think I almost burnt myself out on it, because alongside that, I was also writing other bits that was going to go into that. And it was, I don't know, there was a lot going on. I might just sell it to someone one day and just go, here, do what you want with it, and then just give them a brief outline of the whole rest of the story.
Right.
Like, I'll sit and talk to someone. I know exactly how it'll go, because it's sort of half based upon my own life, doing wild drugs years ago. Some of it's weirdly intertwined.
Right.
Probably shouldn't have fucking put that piece in there. Stupid fool. No. No, I'm joking, by the way. That's exactly what it is. So there's that process.
Yeah.
I mean, I had mine, and it was pretty wild. What's some of your? I mean, I used to just go and have a drink and a smoke, and sometimes I'd just type as well until I couldn't.
Right.
And I'd get like, I don't know, the occasional 750 words, and then I'd go, okay, that's cool.
Right.
And then I'd go, we'll look at that tomorrow. And then sometimes I'd look back and go, we need to change this. And then I'd come back to edit it in a big process. I had weird ways of doing things. Who's some of your favorite authors? Just before we finish off the show.
Favorite authors. Okay, so basically with me, I'm a nonfiction guy. It's so weird, Tim. Like, I'm a big Marvel fan. I love fictional movies, but when it comes to like books, I'm like a nonfiction guy. I like the how-to sort of thing. So, oh man, I'm not sure. What, you caught me off guard here. Tim Ferriss. I'm a big Tim Ferriss fan. Love his 4-hour work week and all that sort of thing. Man, that's the only one that comes up right now. I think.
Any Jordan Peterson?
No, have not gone into
12
him.
Rules of Life. They're pretty good.
Have not gone into him. I hear he's quite controversial.
He is.
His content, but yeah, I guess, man, there's obviously way more. I can't think of off the top. But definitely a Tim Ferriss. Just, he's always evolving, always experimenting with things. Very cerebral. Learn a lot from the guy. So I would say him right now.
What about other films outside of the MCU?
Films, yeah, like action, fantasy. So we're talking like, I like the E.T. movies, E.T. movie, Indiana Jones, Star Wars, all that fantastical stuff. I gobble it up. So those are the main ones. The comedies, love the comedies. Slapstick, raunchy comedies, all those sorts of things. Definitely a fan of, for sure. And superhero films.
Can I recommend a sci-fi film?
Yes, please.
It's called Man from Earth. You ever seen it?
Man from Earth, no.
It's basically about a professor who every 10 years moves on from his job.
Oh.
And he hosts a party, like a leaving party. And everyone asks him, why are you leaving the position?
Right.
And he goes, well, I move every 10 years. And he then gives them a story of how he's a pre-Magnon man, and that he's gone all throughout time and seen all these wild things. The whole story is set in like one house. It doesn't ever leave. It's just them all talking.
Right.
and there's certain clues in the house and stuff like that. And it's never, it's spoiler alert, kind of established at the end that it's the truth, in which, he's basically lived through time, and he was like, yeah, I was friends with, the Buddha and Jesus, and there's all these it's a very, very good film. It's very underrated, very sort of low budget.
Right.
It's one of those that, again, it's a film that goes through the cracks, and it's a great, great film.
Is this British? British movie?
No, I think it's an American film.
Man,
I don't think it's British. I think it's an American film.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, because they talk about being at Harvard at one point.
Oh, there you go.
And one of his, it turns out that, again, spoiler alert, one of his professors that he taught, like, back in the day.
Wow.
Like, which is even crazier. At the end of it, it's, it's like, yeah, wait, I kind of remember now. And it's a great film. I mean, I gave too many spoilers away, but it makes no difference, because the quality of the film, although it's kind of low budget, it really makes up for it.
Okay, who's in it?
No one really famous.
Okay.
I don't think there's anyone in there that's really famous. No one that I can speak of.
Okay.
Again, very, very low budget film. I'm a big fan of low budget films.
Are you? Okay, independent. Okay.
Some of them are just amazing. Well, listen, this has been a very, very fun show.
Sure.
It's been very, very fun talking to you. You gave some great advice to me, to the listeners. Where can people follow you?
Yes, sir. Anybody out there, you could go on Twitter at Dave Mendonca. You can see the spelling of my last name in the show notes or in the podcast title. So at Dave Mendonca's Twitter. You can find me on LinkedIn as well. Also go on Amazon. You can find all my books there. I believe I gave Tim a link.
Yep, there'll be a link to that.
You can use. Also, if you want to join my email list, feel free to email me at davemendonca@gmail.com. And I've asked Tim to put that in the show notes as well. And that's pretty much it, man. So would love to get in touch, chat it up, and let me know how I can help you guys.
Well, listen, this has been a very, very fun episode. Again, I think we've all going to take a lot of life lessons away from this.
Yeah.
I'd like to get you back on again at some point, my friend, because this has been very fun. It's been very fun talking.
Yeah.
So I'd like to take up another hour and a half of your time at some point.
Of course, Tim. Let me know, man.
Well, listen, this has been the Posthuman Podcast. I've been your host, Tim Turner. Today we've been here with Dave Mendonca. And that's it, folks. Catch you next time. Thank you very much.